Hello everyone, welcome back to another book talk review. Today I'm reviewing A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas. This is a part of the Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and the first three were so good, and I never read the fourth one. In my mind, this is the fourth one, because apparently the fourth one has no plot, so I was like, why would I read it? But let's be honest, none of them have a plot. Like this one, let's just get into this one. The best part about this one is that it's a hardback. And it's just like how big it is and how pretty it is. But I don't have any of the other ones in this form. I have them all in the other form. Actually, my sister does. She let me borrow them when I wanted to read them. But I don't have any in that form, and that's the only cover for it. And I get that it's kind of like a different series, so like yeah, but if they're going to connect in the way that you make the title the same thing, why would you, like A Court of, why would you change the cover? Why? Or if you change the cover, at least make it completely different to both of the art styles, because it just annoys me that now none of them really match. Okay, so first of all, of course it's called A Court of Silver Flames because Nesta in the other books gets this power. No one knows what it does, but in this one she kind of has a nightmare one day and then she just bursts in these silver flames. So A Court of Silver Flames. And this book is told in the perspective of Nesta and Cassian, and in the other books it was only told by Feyre, and there was like one of Rysand, whatever his fucking name is, and that was it. The rest was completely Feyre. And in the fourth one, the one that I don't really count as a book, I don't know how the perspectives are told there. It could be all of them, it could be just a few, who knows. I know that in this book there's supposed to be an extra Azriel scene that you can get. I did not get that in this one, but I know it has something to do with Elaine. I personally think that him and Gwen might be mates. That is my theory. I don't like people who think that Elaine and Azriel should be together, because she has her own mate and it makes no sense to me why she keeps being such a bitch towards him, because Lucien has been a good person. Like, first he was loyal to his friend, but then he was loyal to Feyre because he realized how bad his friend was, and he's a good person. He also helped the inner night court thingy with Vassa and Jurian, and they became what's called the Band of Exiles, which I fucking love. I don't really love Nesta's perspective on things. She's really mean towards more Cassian, Nesta, and Feyre and Elaine and all them. Well, Elaine's the only one she's like okay towards, but her perspective on people is just so negative all the fucking time. She has nothing good to say about anyone until the very end. And like the nicest thing she would say is like, oh yeah, Amryn helped me, but then she fucking betrayed me for my sister. Your sister is the High Lady of the Night Court, and she's only friends with you because of Feyre, and you're gonna blame Feyre? And Feyre has so much more to be mad at. If I was Feyre, I'd be so pissed off. I wouldn't even let her stay in the fucking Night Court, because all those years where she had to like go out with her beau, get the food, and Nesta did shit just sitting on her ass. Like, come on. She's the oldest. It made no sense as well at the end how they like had a bonding scene or whatever. Like, she was like, take all my power, I want you to live. Like, I get that she's kind of growing, and then she's like, I forgive her for nothing. I forgive her whatever, and I want my sister back. So she gives her power and she comes alive. It doesn't make sense to me because there was no actual scenes of them bonding. The one thing is like, she apologized for being a bitch, and that was it. I really like the idea of like Emery and Gwen, or Gwyn, don't know which one it is. It's like Gwynreal, no, that's her ship name. But Emery, Gwyn, and Nesta, like a trio. I love trios. Like Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, just love trios. And them being like the first Valkyries, and I love like Valkyries, like Marvel Valkyrie. I love the idea of it, especially like with the whole like armor thing, and like they're like, no, I don't want to be Illyrian, I'd rather be a Valkyrie. And I'm like, yes. And when they did all that training together, and when they were bonding over their backstories, it just really warmed my heart. So with Feyre and Rysand, this book, I really prefer Feyre to Nesta, like very much so, but I kind of see myself in Nesta in a way, which is probably why I don't like her. But the whole thing with the pact of like, if one of them dies, they both die. The cringe I got from that. And the way they like told the others. And then Amren was like, you dumb bitches. I was like, yeah, they're fucking dumb. Like, say hypothetically, they both died, but the baby lived. What are you gonna do then? What are you gonna do? Like, who's, like, the baby's gonna know, like, oh no, they both died for each other because I wasn't fucking worth it. Like, say say Feyre did die, he would have Nyx as a reminder of her. But instead of, like, carrying that, he was like, no, I'd rather die. And I get that it's, like, sad or whatever, but they really need to get their priorities straight. Like, they have a whole fucking court and a war, and they're like, no, I'd rather die. Period. First I thought, like, when they said it, I thought they meant that they were going to, like, leave the night court, go somewhere else, and I was like, you spent like 40 years with Amarantha just to get back to them, and now you want to leave? But the name Nyx, I absolutely loved that, and I'm happy that they both lived. I knew they were going to live. Like, I knew they weren't going to kill any characters off. If they didn't do that in the whole fucking war thing, they weren't going to do it here. It's just so funny to me because Feyre has died almost 2 times now. Rhysand has died once, well, almost twice, because he was going to die with Feyre. But they never kill a character off. Like, never fully. Not even Tamlin or Lucian. And Rhysand really pissed me off because in the other 3 books, he was all about, like, I want to give you the choice. It's your choice. Okay, other 2 books. I don't know about the 4th one. But he was like, I want to give you the choice, Feyre. It is your right. Acting as if he was the creator of feminism. Like, equality. Hashtag Rhysand craves feminism. Like, that's how he was acting. And in this book, he completely switched up, did not tell Nesta about her powers. Well, it wasn't his choice. He wanted to keep it a secret. And he didn't even tell Feyre about her dying with the baby. It really pissed me off. I was like, you just said that, oh yeah, we do this together, we're mates. And then he's like, no, I'm keeping the secret from her. If I was Feyre, I'd be hella pissed off, but she might have been, and we just didn't see it. And the way he was taking out his anger on Nesta, I'm sorry. Nesta is her sister. She did it for the wrong reasons, but I'm glad she told Feyre. Like, I'm glad. And this whole thing with Eris, I think he might be valid. Like, I think there's a reason that they're trying to, like, make him a better person now. Like, I can't remember what he did to Mor in, like, full background. I think he just left her there beaten up or something, and I thought it was a lot worse, but it could have been. And I think there might be like a reason, or like he actually has some morals, because he said Mor doesn't want to share the whole thing, so Mor could be the reason that we see him as a villain, you know? I think as well with Tamlin, they're both kind of just in bad situations, and they're very much villainized. They've both done terrible things. I hate Tamlin so much, but they're really villainizing him when they've all done bad stuff as well. And with Eris, he's also done terrible things. Like, they've both done bad things. But then they tried to give Tamlin a redemption arc in the last 3rd book of A Court of War and Ruin, I think it's called. But they never gave him a reason why he was getting it. And even Nesta hated him. But what does Nesta even think happened? All she knows, like, hypothetically, is that she was taken and she came back to solve a war. I can't remember if they ever told her, like, the shit that happened with Tamlin. And the villain of this book was defeated in, like, 10 pages. 10 pages. She was in the book. The book is, like, 750 pages. She was in it for, like, 20 max. There was no, like, what the fuck is the 750 pages? Her training, her being depressed, her fucking Cassian, and then the last few pages, she kills the villain. And I was just like, are you fucking joking me? I thought they were gonna make a whole series on this for that villain because she was not showing up. And I was like, okay, Cassian got mind controlled, so he's gonna come back in another book. But they solved that within this book, and they made, like, Koshi or whatever the bad guy, but he said 2 words. throughout the entire series, and they're building him up to be worse than the King of Highburn. They're really bad at building up plot lines and villains, but the actual story and the writing is just so addicting. Like, I could not put this down. I loved it. And it makes no sense to me because there was no plot. The only character development was Nesta, and that wasn't even done fully. What about the sister, Elaine? What about Asriel? He kind of had the tiniest bit. What about Lucian? Lucian? Who knows? There was no character development. Rhysand was made to be this annoying bitch, and which makes sense because his whole thing is that, like, I hate everyone in the world but you. So the fact that it's Nesta and him and he hates Nesta makes sense, but they really painted him to be worse than he actually is, because in the other three he was so nice to the others, but in this one he was even mean. Like, I was so confused. And obviously Sarah J Maas is a terrible person. I like the series, I do not like her. And I know that buying the books and stuff is kind of giving her money and stuff, but she's a bad person. I am aware of this. I know everything she's done. I'm not explaining it here. If you want to know, go Google it. But she's a terrible person, but her book, her writing is just addicting to read. Like, why am I reading this? Is it for the sex scenes? Probably. But even the other scenes, I could still read and I wasn't bored. So she actually has some interesting points. Like with Percy Jackson, it had the action, it had the plot line, it had the good writing, it had amazing chapter names, and the character development throughout it was amazing. But this book has sex scenes. That's it. Like, what else? Anyways, that is my review of this book. I give it a 6 out of 10 just because I actually really enjoyed it, even though I don't fully know why. But let me know if you're going to read this or if you enjoyed it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.